Let's see here. Well, okay, everything seems to be going, and yeah, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm making this video because I've been playing all night, trying to get my hunter up to max light, and out of, I think, 10 powerful drops, I haven't gotten the last chest piece that I need to hit full 1000 level cap. So I decided to take a break and make this video to talk about shotguns for a little bit. So I've got quite a few good shotguns, like good rolls on shotguns of a wide variety of different archetypes to play with, whether it be slug shotguns or pellet shotguns, high impact frames, lightweight frames, rapid fire frames, you name it, I got it. I got some pretty good stuff. Okay, so I like using shotguns quite a bit. I think they're actually kind of a fun way to play. I like to be a bit of an ape. I've got quite a bit of hair on my knuckles, so I like to go in and I like to play aggressively. That's what shotguns tend to lend themselves to. And I have been having a very hard time quantifying the changes that have been made to shotguns. Because there's situations where sometimes they'll feel really consistent and it's like they don't miss and they feel fantastic, and then there's times where it just blank shots right in front of somebody. So this is where I don't understand where shotguns are in the current sandbox. I want to try and find what perks really make a shotgun feel good in this current meta, but it's sort of like a mixed bag. Right? So some shotguns seem to be benefiting more from a maximum range roll, like the high impact shotguns seem to be benefiting pretty well from something like rifled barrel, whereas some of the lightweight shotguns, like the one that I have equipped, which is one of the seasonal pass shotguns, which has full choke, assault mag, slide shot, and trench barrel. Unfortunately, it has a reload masterwork instead of range, but that's, you can't change everything. You can't have perfection all the time. Right? But it's a good shotgun given the right conditions and given the right circumstances. So sometimes, like, I'll find shotguns doing what they're supposed to do and they feel amazing. Sometimes I'll just find a push where I'm just 1 meter outside of the range, or sometimes I'll be right inside the range and still blank shots. So I don't know what to really do about shotguns, which is kind of the whole point of the video, is to talk about how I feel about them in general. So I like that shotguns have been balanced more along the line with the rest of the sandbox, but I feel like they're kind of a little undertuned right now, and I don't want to say that they need to be mapping people from inappropriate ranges, like, I don't know, like Mindbenders from last season. I'm not saying that Mindbenders from last season was obscenely broken, but it was definitely one of the more consistent shotguns. And one of the things that has really kind of got me thinking about this current sandbox is that shotguns had kind of like this weird change that was, it was a dualitous change. Okay, so they had a increase to their consistency based on their hit registration. Their pellets will no longer deviate towards the crit spot, which is great for the performance of shotguns. It makes them actually more consistent when they are hitting their shots. What they also did is, what Bungie also did is nerf the range cap on shotguns by removing the ADS range bolstering effect that you get on shotguns. So what that does is it takes about 1 to 2 meters off of the ultimate or maximum range of a shotgun, and that makes it a little less like previous sandboxes. So shotgun ranges tend to feel a little bit closer, I think, because you don't get that ADS boost to your range. And one of the things that I would really like for Bungie to do is to re-implement that range bonus that you get for ADSing, because I think that ADSing with your shotgun is, in a way, a bit of a skill, but most importantly what it does is it allows the player to control their range a little bit more. And you can feel free to disagree with me, but in a sandbox that has a fairly fast TTK, and in a sandbox that has things like hard light running around, I think it's okay to have a shotgun that has a pretty decent sized range on it, so long as you're ADSing and maintaining that range on your own. Now, like I said, you can feel free to disagree with me, that's completely fine, but that's my opinion. I think that the shotgun tuning has been a little bit too much or too heavy-handed, and it does make room for things like auto rifles to be good, but I think what it does is it makes room for auto rifles to be a little too good. And it makes it so that shotguns you really have to be in the right place at the right time to capitalize on a shotgun the best. So what you do really end up doing if you're playing with a shotgun or trying to play aggressively is playing with your primary out for the most part, and then looking for an opportunity to use your shotgun. Like there was a perfect opportunity to use my shotgun, but I couldn't think because I was getting sprayed down by a hard light, and I just wasn't thinking, and then there were two people and I got cleaned up. Anywho, the point is that when you're using a shotgun in the current meta, I think running around with just a shotgun out is not something that you're going to be seeing a lot. But there's also still a lot of power running around in the map, like snipers. Snipers are extremely powerful, and people on PC don't tend to miss their shots very often in certain skill brackets, especially in competitive PvP or in areas like Trials. Running a shotgun in Trials is definitely a bit of a gambit. Not to use a Destiny pun, but in reality it is a bit of a gamble because of pellet RNG, because of this range nerf, because of their inconsistency, and because of the outrageously powerful meta that you're having to fight in already. Things like Hardlight, they do increase damage on their ricocheted shots, so if you're in a close quarters map with a lot of tight angles and you're trying to prep with a shotty, it is really tough to try and make an aggressive push, especially with radar on. An opponent that's prepped and ready to deal with you. So, and I think that comes down to the lack of range that comes from ADSing. I'm not saying that shotguns need to be ultra giga strong in the sandbox, but I think that since Bungie made an attempt to make shotguns more consistent, it would be nice to play in a sandbox where they were just more archetypes available that were consistent. Previously, shotguns, the reason why you would see Mindbenders so often is because Mindbenders had the highest aim assist value, and that gave it the best shot consistency, and it was also a high impact shotgun as well. So it had the highest one-hit kill distance, it was the most consistent, and it was one of those kind of like Pinnacle-esque activities that you could farm, and it got some pretty raunchy good rolls on it too. You could get like rifle barrel, slide shot, assault mag, quick draw, whatever. You could get all kinds of good stuff on it, like it's a good shotgun. That's why you'd see it. And if you had the right roll, then you could do some pretty raunchy stuff with it. But if you looked at the rest of the sandbox, you had to have basically the cream of the crop in order to really have a competitive shotgun with something like Mindbenders because of the other inconsistency factors that were affecting other shotguns. Well, Bungie addressed that by fixing the deviation of pellet spread towards the crit box, but then kind of underhanded that change and reaffirmed the Mindbender meta, basically. So what I mean by that is by saying what the changes have done is they have reduced the range of all the shotguns. So now what you want to do is find the shotgun that has the highest one-hit kill range, which is going to be either a precision frame, like a Dustrock Blues, or Beat Hold Tail, something like that, Prophet of Doom, or you're going to find something that hits hard at the same range, which is the high impact frame, which is Mindbender's Ambition, Toil and Trouble, and the Trials of Osiris shotgun that's coming out. So those are shotguns that are being reaffirmed as competitive meta weapons for PvP. Those have not changed for the last 2 years. Dustrock Blues has always been a competitive shotgun. Mindbender's Ambition has always technically been a competitive shotgun. So what's happened is even though we have this consistency factor variance change to shotguns being made, the meta still hasn't changed. And what's happened is now you're forced into having a particular type of roll on the shotgun in order to be consistent. But the shotgun that you're using is not different than the shotgun that you were using, and the difference between the shotguns is only about a meter now. So you're losing a meter, and then you're also heavily weighted into playing with a particular type of shotgun. Now there is a flip side to this. The flip side of the argument is that, well, now there's more room for things like slug shotguns, and sidearms, and SMGs to play around in the sandbox, and I actually do think that that is true. Once this shotgun nerf kind of came into play, SMGs became a little bit more viable, sidearms have become a little bit more viable, fusion rifles, and particularly not high impact fusion rifles, but various different archetypes of fusion rifles have become more competitive. But when you have weapons like hard light, no matter what you've done to the sandbox already, hard light is now the oppressor in the sandbox because of its consistency, its very generous perk set, its masterwork companion as well. It's just a huge oppressive force in a lot of situations that you're going to face in PvP. So we've traded having Mindbender's Ambition being the most consistent close-range weapon to having Hardlight being the most consistent multi-range weapon in the game, and then they can be backed up with one-hit kill weapons like snipers that can hit the entire map and one-shot, which is not what shotguns can do. So if you're looking to play with a shotgun that is going to be the most consistent, I would recommend that you use something like a slug shotgun if you can aim and hit the head at the forehead. But the problem with a slug shotgun is that if you're trying to take a slug shotgun into, let's say, Trials of Osiris, you have to be very fast and very reactive and very on point with your shot if you want to be competitive in that type of arena. Because the players that are playing in Trials of Osiris are using snipers, and they're using hardlight. They're using very consistent meta weapons right now, and they're also very good. They're not going to let you just push them like an ape. So the problem with this meta is that it is very oppressive towards close range, dominancy type of playstyles where you aggress, and just press your opponent out of the map with a hand cannon and a shotgun. That was a previous meta, that was a previous tactic. That was something that you see a lot in quick play, and it's one of those things that does get on players' nerves. If you're just getting pushed with a shotgun all the time, it gets really annoying. But I'm actually more annoyed with the current meta because of the way that Hardlight performs in comparison to the rest of the sandbox. Now, I've been testing out a lot of different stuff, so this is just an opinion piece. Again, you can feel free to disagree with me. The video's coming to a close, and I wanted to wrap it up with this final clip, which I think is kind of interesting because I just got Fourth Horseman today, and it's a shotgun that performs very strangely. But it'll be kind of interesting to see the potential of this shotgun in the future, given its power to put out damage fairly quickly. So maybe shotguns are tuned differently, maybe I just have to adjust to it and adapt, but we'll see what the future holds.